Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us to get specific on local electrician pathways. My name is Amber Klingner, and I'm the Associate Director of Partnership and Data Management at All Hands Raised. This is part 2 of our Blueprints for Our Future series designed to improve, clarify, and create better pathways to careers in the construction and manufacturing industries. You can find materials from part 1 on the All Hands Raised website. We would also like to extend thanks to IAM Boeing, Walsh Construction, and Mortensen for sponsoring this series. For the last 5 years, All Hands Raised has worked directly with high school site teams to improve college and career pathways. Student surveys from our partner schools have again and again highlighted the electrician career as the most popular trades career among high school students. We have also learned that there's a wide array of misconceptions about how to access this lucrative career. Additionally, educators are often given general trades information to support students, but they often feel their knowledge base is inadequate about the specific trades pathways. Career Spotlight is designed to go deep on a specific trade and give educators the information they need to truly support students. Today, we will be covering the electrician career. We also want to note that becoming an electrician is different than becoming an electrical lineman, and we will not be going into the electrical lineman pathway at this time. Today, you will be hearing from Bridget Quinn, Workforce Development Coordinator at the NECA IBEW Training Center in Portland, and Jeff Hooper, Education Director for the Independent Electrical Contractors of Oregon with local training centers in Portland and Salem. Bridget and Jeff will provide you with details about their programs, as well as insights and lessons from their extensive experience watching and developing apprentices. We will also have the opportunity at the end for Q&A. While we will be monitoring the chat, we encourage you to ask questions using the Q&A function during that session after both presenters. Before we get to Bridget and Jeff, we have a guest apprentice from the IBEW Training Center who is here to share a few words about her journey so far. I'd like to introduce you to Alyssa Lyncheski. Alyssa?
Hi. So I just wanted to start out by kind of talking about my career path and how I got started on this. I was actually enrolled at Clark College going for nursing, and at the time I couldn't really get into a nursing program. I was about ready to take my prereqs, and a lot of colleges were telling me that my chances of getting in were pretty slim, and I didn't really know where to go from there. I was 17, about to graduate high school, and was like, man, like all my plans just got blown up. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And luckily I had a dad, well, I have a dad that's in the trades, and he was the one that kind of influenced me to become an electrician and, you know, join the union electrical program. And so I kind of did a pros and cons list like any 17-year-old would do, and kind of weighed my options. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and try it. Before he had even said that, I was like, I don't even know what electrician does. I didn't really know anything about the trades because they weren't really pushed when I was in high school. And being from Washington, I did a program called Running Start. So I was in college full time my junior and senior year of high school. So I wasn't really around for career days, even if they were there. But I don't really remember any of my friends talking about it ever. I don't really know a lot of people from my class that had joined any of the trades, at least not at my high school. I know that there was some surrounding areas that it was a little bit more promoted, but not really at mine. So part of that being, you know, making sure that, you know, the trades are in those career days. So I actually signed up to do outreach at high schools, more so in Washington than Oregon, because I know that some of those students that aren't there full time don't get the chance to, you know, learn about the trades, you know, or even hear about them. I got lucky because, you know, my dad was in that career field, so that definitely helped me. But I know a couple of apprentices that I work with had also taken like CTE classes or classes based around their trade. I know there's a high school in Portland somewhere that actually one of the apprentice or foremen I work for now, she's a couple years older than me. She actually did an electrical program in high school and then applied into the union apprenticeship after she got done. So that's excellent. I mean, I wish we had something like that in Washington, at least where I went. I know that wasn't an option. I know we still did woodworking and metal and shop class and all that, but we didn't really have any trade related classes. So I think maybe bringing some of those back would be super beneficial. And then with the company I work for now, it is a minority owned contractor, and they get a lot of opportunities to bid on government funded jobs. And so we recently remodeled the Oregon Convention Center, and I was there pretty much from start to finish and was a huge part of that job. And throughout that process, there was a couple different schools that did field trips actually to our job sites. And I thought that was super awesome. I wish that more schools would do that. I mean, I know it takes a little bit of time out of our days, and, you know, everybody's trying to get everything done right this second, but it's just so huge for kids to be able to come out on those job sites, put on the hard hat, put on the vest, put on the glasses, like get to see what we do every day and then kind of interact with them. Like that is so huge. Like I wish I would have gotten that opportunity as, you know, even elementary, middle school, like just getting it in their brains that, you know, you're not dumb if you're in a trade. Like you actually have to be super smart. Like the union electrical program is so hard. Like, you know, there's times where you just want to give up because it's like, I don't know if I can get through this. Like you have to be very smart to make it through these programs. And, you know, same with, you know, plumbing and all these other programs. Like they're just very competitive. They're very hard to get into. Like if people say it's easy, it is not. Like there's just so many qualifications you have to meet. And so along with that, like maybe inviting guest speakers into the schools, like besides the career day, like actually be able to, you know, talk with students one-on-one and have them ask, you know, questions and just get them hands-on, I think is the biggest thing. So they kind of have an idea of what they're getting into. Cause like when I started, I didn't even know what an electrician did. Like I had no idea. Like, so I think that would be a really good thing for them. There's so many benefits of being in the apprenticeship, especially union apprenticeships. I haven't had to pay for anything, maybe a couple pairs of work pants here and there. Like all my schooling is paid for. I have no debt, nothing to pay back. All my books are paid for. I mean, shoot, when you're in school, they even provide you with a lunch, you know, one day a term. There's just so many benefits to their program. And also like their medical. I recently went through chemo treatments and I've hardly paid anything out of pocket. Their insurance is very good. And for me being 22, I actually just bought my first house as well. So that's super exciting, especially in today's market because it's very competitive. And our wages go by hours. So every certain amount of hours, you'll get a pay increase if you're in good standing with the training center and you submit your hours and all that good stuff in school. And, you know, there's always room for improvement. And like, even after you get done with the apprenticeship, there's so many options. I mean, I've debated about becoming a project manager, continuing to go to school to become an electrical engineer. Like there is more jobs than just, you know, being an electrician. There's so many different, you could, you know, continue on and become an inspector one day. There's so many career options for the future, even if, you know, you do start at the apprenticeship level. I think it's great when people keep going and, you know, get higher and higher on that list. I mean, shoot, if you wanted to, you could even own your own business one day. I know I don't have that desire, but I know some people would really like that. So yeah, I think, you know, overall, there's just so much good. I know there's a huge shortage right now, and I just keep trying to get the word out as much as I can on my end. To all my friends that are interested, I've had a couple people reach out and they're actually switching from different careers to do it now because they just didn't even know it was an option when they started college. So hopefully, we can get some of this stuff into schools and, you know, get more kids interested in it and know about it sooner. I know the student loan is becoming a huge issue. There's a lot of debt with that. So hopefully we can all work together to find a way to get more people learning about it and interested in it.
Thank you so much, Alyssa, for taking the time to share your story with us today. We wish you the best of luck and everything in your future. So thank you.
Thank you.
So now I would like to introduce Bridget Quinn, who is the Workforce Development Coordinator for NECA IBEW at the Electrical Training Center in Portland. Bridget?
Hi, everybody. My name is Bridget Quinn. I'm the Workforce Development Coordinator, so AKA Outreach Person for the NECA IBEW Electrical Training Center in Portland. I'm also a journey level inside wireman. I completed my apprenticeship in 2008. I'm happy to be here today and talk to you about our electrical apprenticeship programs. So I want to start off just by talking about some terminology to begin with. A lot of you may know or be familiar with these terms, but I've discovered that in my years of outreach, when I first started, I would start talking about apprenticeship, assuming that people knew what a lot of the words I was saying meant. So let me give some meaning to these terms. An apprentice is somebody who's registered in an apprenticeship. They're learning their trade by working under the supervision of journey level workers. And then a journey level worker is somebody who's completed their apprenticeship training. Electrical happens to be a licensed trade, so once you complete your requirements of your apprenticeship, you also need to pass your state license exam. And then you might hear OJT thrown around a lot, and that stands for on-the-job training, and that's basically the paid hours that you're working out on our job sites as you go through your apprenticeship training program. We are a union affiliated apprenticeship program. So our union is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And what that basically means is we work under a contract that's agreed upon between the contractors that hire our members and the members. So we all have go into negotiations and have equal say over things like our wages, our benefits, and our working conditions. One of the cool things about our situation is that when our contractors, let's say you're a small contractor and you really only need a few electricians on hand at any given time on staff, but then you're interested in bidding a larger project, like a bigger building, something like the convention center that, that Alyssa was talking about. You're going to need a lot more workforce. So you can pull out of our union dispatch hall and know that you know the quality of electrician you're getting because they've completed their training through our program. And the employee, the electrician, knows that their wages are going to remain uniform, that they're not going to change depending on which contractor they go to work for on whichever project they end up on. So their wages and their benefits stay uniform. Our union also does a lot of leadership development. So we do a lot of work promoting we'll identify apprentices like Alyssa, who might show that they have great leadership qualities and really start developing those leadership skills by sending them to conferences and leadership development programs across the country. We have great pay and great benefits. We offer whole family health insurance. So that means when you get into our apprenticeship program, you and all your dependents are going to be covered by the health insurance. We have a few different plans to choose from depending on your family's needs. The worker only pays a deductible and copay, so the employer is paying for the premium on that. We also have an employee assistance program, a flexible spending plan that covers anything medical doesn't cover. It also can reimburse you for childcare and wage replacement if you become unemployed, and 4 pension plans. We also have paid maternity leave. So that's something that our health program adopted last year. And so any pregnant member, regardless if she's a entry-level material handler or she's a foreman making foreman scale, they qualify for this $800 a week benefit 13 days prior to delivery and 13 days post-delivery. Our programs are tuition free. Alyssa talked about that a little bit. All of our apprentices, when they get in, they get an automatic full scholarship that covers their tuition, their books, and their online curriculum. And we also give them actually it's a little bit more than $600 in quality hand tools, so that somebody doesn't have to worry about not having the tools that they need to be able to start their career. Apprentices don't get paid an hourly wage while they're in the classroom getting their classroom instruction, but they do get a $300 check for every term of school that they complete to help offset those lost wages when they're in school. We're affiliated with Mount Hood Community College. So as an apprentice, a student is simultaneously enrolled at Mount Hood Community College. However, they physically take their classes here at our training center. We've been around for over 100 years. Our building that we're in now, we've occupied a lot of different spaces, but the building that we're in now was designed and built specifically to train electrical apprentices and to provide continuing education for journey level electricians. So the credits that they take here are free to them, and they grant those upon graduation. They will need to complete 2 or 3 general education classes to round out to that associate degree. If someone is like Alyssa and they've done something like Running Start and they already have some college credit, then chances are they probably don't even need to do that extra step. So I put this slide in here not to discourage people from going to college or university. I think that if you do go to college or university, this is what I tell students when I talk to them, when I do my outreach, make sure it's something that needs a college education. But I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about the trades, and that if you don't go to college, you're going to end up being a failure in life. And I think if you look at these wages of a NECA IBEW Inside Electrician Apprentice, you can clearly see that there's a lot of falseness to that. Alyssa's 22, she just bought her first house. In your first year as an apprentice, you're making almost $43,000, and those wages just keep going up as you advance through your apprenticeship program. Salary, if you work full-time as an electrician, you're making easily over $100,000 a year. So it works as on-the-job training and classroom instruction. So we provide job placement. When an apprentice gets into our apprenticeship program, it means that we have a place for them to work. We don't take in apprentices unless we feel fairly confident that we can keep them employed as close as possible to full-time basis. So our apprentices will work a typical work week, and then they'll come to our training center for 2 terms each year, and they're here 1 day a week for two terms each year. So they're basically in the classroom about 20 days out of the year. There's a lot of different electrical licenses out there. We train for 3 of them. So Inside Electrician, that's our commercial industrial program. That requires 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. It takes people about 5 years to complete it. It can be completed quicker, but generally most people takes them about 5 years. Starting wage is about 20 bucks an hour. Journey wage is about $50 an hour plus almost $26 in benefits. Limited energy tech, that's low voltage communication systems. So things like telephone and data, internet security, nurse call systems. They complete a 6,000 on-the-job training hour program, and that takes about 3.5 years to complete. They start out at about $21 an hour, journeying out at almost 42, and they're getting about $22 an hour in benefits. And then our residential program, that's any residence 3 stories or less. So it could be a single family home, a motel, a hotel, a duplex. They go through 4,000 hours of on-the-job training. Takes about 2.5 years to complete. They start at $18 an hour, journey out at 33, and they're getting about $16 an hour in benefits. One of the nice things about that residential license is that when you journey out and get that license, you're on a pathway to automatically advance to become a master residential electrician. So you can see on the slide here that every 1,000 hours that you work as a journey level master electrician, you get $1 an hour raise. And then once you reach that 4,000 hour mark, you're making master wage, which is $42.85 an hour and $24.18 in benefits. So that's pretty good for 2.5 years of training that you don't even pay for. So let's talk about our application process. A lot of people are always saying, I hear it takes so long to get in. I hear it's really hard to get in. So I'm going to cover some of those questions. It's true. It's not an instant process. It's not like applying at Target. It can take up to 3 months between applying and receiving your rank. And then you're going to sit on that ranked list until, like I said, we have a demand for apprentices and we pull off that ranked list to start you working. So the first step is very important. It's really critical that applicants watch our orientation video because there's a ton of information in there and it can really help them prepare them for success during the application process. They need to meet the minimum qualifications. They can apply online. We're open year round. And they do need to know how to put all of their transcripts and application materials in PDF format because that needs to be uploaded with their application. If they meet those qualifications, they will be aptitude tested, and there's no testing for residential. That's just for inside and limited energy. If they pass that test, they'll be interviewed, and that interview score determines their rank on our list of eligible candidates. And like I said, we don't take apprentices in unless we feel like we can keep them employed. So when we have a demand for enough apprentices to build one of these basic skills classes, then we'll pull off that list in rank order and start a basic skills class. So these slide up here just goes over the minimum program requirements. The basics, I'm not going to read it all, but basically a high school graduate with a 2.0 GPA and then a year of algebra with a C or better for the inside program. For residential high school graduate, there's no GPA requirement or any kind of high school math for a full year with a passing grade. There are other ways to meet these requirements. If you have your GED or if you've done some college, there's other ways to meet the math requirement, but all that stuff can be found on our website. So that aptitude test, basically it tests to make sure that you remember that algebra that you did in high school. So when I applied for the program, I think I was 26. And so it had been quite a while since I sat in an algebra class. So good idea to do some preparation, make sure your students are really prepared for this algebra test. They'll also be tested on reading comprehension. Score is good for 2 years. If they don't pass it though, they do need to wait 6 months, reapply and retest. And then the interview is probably the most important aspect of this application process. It determines their rank on our list. So the panel is going to be made up of members of both labor and management. So contractors, union members, there'll be probably some training center instructors or staff in those interviews. And they're going to take a look at the students' transcripts. They're going to really focus on any math, science, or CTE grades. They're also going to take a look at their application portfolio, and I'll talk a little bit later about what goes into a portfolio and what your students can do when they're in high school to start building that portfolio. And they'll also look at their work history. It's a 10-minute interview. There's probably going to be between 4 and 6 people on the interview panel. They average all those scores, and that's going to determine their rank on the list of eligible candidates. They're scored on how they present themselves. Are they professional? I can't tell you how much enthusiasm makes a difference in an interview. It's somebody who comes in and they're just really excited about the opportunity, knowledge of the trade, evidence that they know what an electrician does, that they've done some research, that they've gone on YouTube, they've gone on our website, they've interviewed, they've done interviews with people that work in the field to find out what they like about it, what they don't like about it. That's really important in that interview. They're also going to take a look at experience. So any trade-related experience is going to definitely be a benefit. Even if you don't have any trade experience, but there's a lengthy employment history with one employer, that indicates good work ethic. Documentation is important, so letters of recommendation, probably the best way to show work ethic. And then education and training. So those trade classes, I know CTE cuts back in the 70s really did our schools and our students a disservice. And with these CTE revitalization grants, we're finally seeing a lot of those programs returning to our schools, which is such a positive thing. So if your school has CTE programs, Get your students that are interested in the trades to take those classes. Anything other than trade-related classes, training, if they have forklift from a part-time job, something like that, that will also benefit them in their application. So the big question I get asked a lot is, how long does it take to get into the apprenticeship program? And that's kind of a crystal ball question. It depends on two major things: the economy, so basically how busy our contractors are, and then also how well that person ranked on the ranked list. So we'll start with number 1 on the list and form basic skills class. We take up to 18 at a time. So it's important for people to know that their rank is going to change. So they're going to go up and down that list. It's very fluid. So as we take in new students, like we just started 18 new apprentices on Monday, that means everybody on the ranked list moved down 18 spots as we pulled those 18 off the list. But then we're getting set to interview some more applicants. So that means some of those applicants will interview better or get better scores. And then that's going to push that person up the list as well. The duration on the ranked list, like I said, depends on their rank and their economy. And if they don't rank well, there is a process to re-interview. So essentially, you would improve your qualifications, and then after you improve your qualifications, come back for a re-interview. Basically, you do that by taking trade-related classes or by gaining some kind of industry employment. Okay, so basic skills. That says test. It should say class. So it's a basic skills class, but it kind of is a test. It's still part of the application process, so someone can still be removed at this point. Essentially, we've seen them, their transcripts, we've seen them on paper. Now we're going to put them in our classrooms and our labs and see how they do. They get safety training. They'll learn some electrical theory. They'll be wiring electrical circuits, bending conduit, using tools, and we're evaluating them on, showing up on time, passing a drug test, not being late back from even breaks, having their homework done on time, and also just the ability to do the work of an electrician. So once somebody gets through that program, then we assign them to their employer and they start working. So as you are thinking about preparing potential apprentice-bound students, really encourage them to do the research. I can't emphasize enough how important that is during that interview, especially. Why electrical? Why not plumbing, carpentry, painting? Why not some of the other trades out there? I call it the light bulb moment. So everybody should know what their light bulb moment was when they decided, oh my gosh, this is the path for me. They should be able to describe the work environment. They should be able to explain some of the tasks that electricians perform and the types of buildings and properties that we work on. As far as critical qualities, work ethic. I can't say enough how much work ethic really matters in success in our apprenticeship programs. Their communication skills, so being able to communicate effectively in their interview, math skills, and some experience with tools would be definitely beneficial. I will say I have seen people get into the apprenticeship program that have very little to no experience because they nailed it in the interview. They were just enthusiastic and knowledgeable and excited. And when somebody comes to the table with that kind of an attitude, we know we can teach them, and we know that we can teach them the skills that they'll need to have. Physical conditioning, of course, is going to be important as well. And I want to emphasize fitness, not size, because there's a lot of small women. There's a lot of big women in the industry. There's a lot of small guys in the industry. There's a lot of huge guys in the industry. So I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't have the physical, stature to be a construction worker. And that's just simply not the case these days anymore, especially with the safety lifting requirements and all the equipment that we have to be able to do our tasks safely. So we do ask that your students, that people applying into our apprenticeship programs are bringing with them soft skills already, that they have the attitude, the professionalism. That's the stuff that they should bring with them, because we'll teach the hard skills. We've been doing this for over 100 years. We're experts at training qualified individuals to become quality electricians. So again, in classes in high school, look for CTE or STEM classes, construction tech, welding, robotics. As far as experience, there are a lot of hands-on trade-related volunteer groups like Habitat for Humanity, the Rebuilding Center, REACH. There's a lot of different volunteer opportunities that a student can get involved in. I've been actually in contact with a Milwaukee high school student who, you know, he's been emailing me pictures every week of him volunteering at the Rebuilding Center and for REACH, and it's pretty cool how excited he is to be out there. I mean, even if it's just pushing a wheelbarrow, he's pretty excited to be doing it. Hobbies, so documenting any hobbies, whether they like to work on their car, they've maybe completed a fence or a deck with their parents or their caretakers. And then pre-apprenticeship training is also an option. There are a lot of programs in Oregon and Washington that prepare high school graduates or even career changers, so adults who are looking to change their career. It gives people an idea of what apprenticeship is all about and helps prepare them to be successful in an apprenticeship program. The application portfolio that I talked about, that cover letter should really go into why specifically electrical. There's a lot of different trades out there. Why is being a union member important? Their resume should really highlight the hands-on skills and hobbies. Letters of recommendation are important, and then photos are great, especially for a young person who doesn't have a good work history because they're young. Any photos of projects or hobbies. And then I put a link up there that you can download some application tips as well as a sample portfolio. So some more ideas for your students on how they can be successful. All right, and then I see that somebody's gonna put some, should be copying and pasting these links into the chat window for you so you don't have to worry about screenshotting or taking a picture. But here's some resources, our website, YouTube channel, a link to our program flyers, some application tips. I also have a apprenticeship lesson plan that I developed. So if you run into a situation where you want to teach your students about apprenticeship, you can download this lesson plan. It's got a PowerPoint as well as a guide and a worksheet that your students can complete. And then I've also got my free Skilled Trades Apprenticeship Foundations course on LinkedIn Learning. And there's also a Skilled Trades Resume and Portfolio course. So some resources for you. I want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present about our apprenticeship programs. And if you have any questions for your students, or if your students want to reach out to me, feel free to pass along my contact information.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And Bridget will be available to answer questions during the Q&A portion of this session. And we've seen a couple of those questions already come in. We are not ignoring those. We will get to them after our next speaker, Jeff Hooper. Jeff is the Education Director for the Independent Electrical Contractors of Oregon, again with local training centers in Portland and Salem. And I'll hand it off to Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. Boy, it's gorgeous out. I'm sitting here next to my window and admiring the weather. Yes, it's true. So our program, we are the Area 2, one of the Area 2 programs down here in Salem. However, we're a little unique in that we also have an Area 2 program, but we also have an Area 1 program, which is our limited energy program. There is also an Area 1 program. It's called Area 1 up in the Portland area also. So I thought I would start out a little bit about what the Independent Electrical Contractors is. We're an association. We were formed in 1979. We have 3 apprenticeship programs, limited energy, inside electrical, and a residential, much like IBEW has. And we're really, really excited about that. And Bridget did an excellent job of talking about a lot of the benefits of the career, and it's just true. And I like to share a little personal story about that. In that my father was an electrician for 36 years, and I went into education. This is my 27th year in education. I was a former high school teacher, then went into building administration, you know, then the college stuff. And but my son was always kind of interested in going in the electrical field. However, he chose to become an aerospace engineer, and he graduated 2 years ago. And the interesting thing, I'm really glad Bridget brought up, pay in the electrical industry. My son, who is now $110,000 in debt, student loan debt, he makes about as much as a beginner journeyman electrician does. And the journeyman electrician has no debt. And it's really unfathomable to think about that high schools are really finally starting to talk about that a little more. I know when I was teaching high school, we did have shop. We did have all of those things. I remember having my car painted in the auto body program, right? And so my son often reminds me, boy, I should have become an electrician. Anyway, so it's just a tremendous career that we're all so excited about. Go ahead and switch to the other side. I guess I don't have control of that, do I? There we go. So I thought I'd start out talking a little bit about our program. Our program is a little different. Our application process is a little different because we are actually the only apprenticeship program in the state that has the ability of sponsorship. In that, the electrical contractors, they do a lot of the interviewing, and they may hire an apprentice and then direct enter that apprentice into our program. When that apprentice is direct entered in our program, then they have to go through the application process. They have to do the standard interviews. They have to do, our aptitude test is called work keys. We worked with the state of Oregon to create an aptitude test for the industry, and so that's it's a 3 to 4 hour test, and it's a tough test. Talking about the math skills, the English skills, the communication skills. So our apprentices all have to go through that process. And so we have kind of done away from the ranked list idea in our inside electrical program and more into a direct entry type of thing, and then go through the application process. Our limited energy program still does use the standard ranked list. So as I said, our inside electrical is the only program in the state currently that has that. I know others have been contacting us to try to get some information about that. So we're approaching 400 apprentices in our inside electrical program. We have a little over 250 in our limited energy program. And growing, I think all of our programs are, programs across the state are just growing like crazy. And it's really exciting to see that because, as Bridget did mention, the significant shortage. Each year, more electricians are retiring than are entering the field. So in the state of Oregon, the last I saw in electricians, I mean, the unemployment rate is next to zero because of all of the types of journeymen that are retiring, including my father. He's retired and enjoying a great retirement. So we are, I think, every program in the state is really starting to work with a lot of high schools. We work with many high schools down here. We work with some community organizations down here. We host about 300 students for National Apprenticeship Week. And we do lots of things to be involved in the high schools to talk about the industry. And so oftentimes I'm asked, should I apply for your program? Should I apply for the union program? And our answer is you apply to both, always. And because the industry needs you. And so we do a lot of recruitment like that for the industry. Our limited energy program is much like Bridget talked about. It is the ranked list program. And so there's that whole different process, which I actually brought up the process for that. And it is much like Bridget was talking about for her program, but they have to be 18. You know, they have to have had a C in algebra. And, you know, different things like that. So the educational experience, the volunteering experience, and all those different types of things. are involved in that rank list process. So when our program is a little different in that our apprentices work directly with an individual contractor. So we have a minimum basic guidelines for those contractors. One of those is pay. However, all of our contractors, especially in today's climate, they all have the ability to pay above the minimum pay, and every one of them do. For example, we are a tuition-based program, about $1,400 a year for tuition. However, for the most part, contractors cover almost all of that. Some of the contractors do a reimbursement program depending on the type of grade they get. Or our first-year apprentices oftentimes can apply for our college partnership for a Pell Grant, and that covers their tuition for the full year. And I indicated the book cost also about that's they only buy books once per year instead of a regular college student who buys books twice or 3 times a year. We are on the 3-quarter system, fall, winter, and spring quarter. We go to school 2 nights a week for the full school year. And our Inside Electrical program partners with Chemeketa Community College. We have been partnering with them since 1979. About 4 years ago now, we left the campus of Chemeketa Community College and got our own building. We'll show some pictures of that a little later. Our limited energy program, which is housed in Wilsonville, they partner with Clackamas Community College. And so all of the training is actually done on the Wilsonville campus of Clackamas Community College, and they've done that for 20 years. Our limited energy program is a little newer, and they're about 22 years old, right in that area. And the tuition rate for that program is obviously whatever Clackamas deems it. I think it's right around $450 or something like that per quarter. They also go to school. They go to school 1 night a week, but it's for the full school year also. So we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I thought I would show you some pictures of our training center here in Salem. And we're really proud of this training center. It really was a leap of faith for us to leave on the stability of a college campus into our own program. So we did become independent from the college. However, we also partner with the college, and that all of our apprentices are duly registered in our program, and they also registered with Chemeketa Community College. So they have full campus rights at Chemeketa Community College. A lot of them go work out at the gym, that type of thing. They get a Chemeketa student ID card. I think it's 13 college credits per year they receive from Chemeketa. That does qualify them for the Associate of Applied Science. As Bridget indicated, with Mount Hood, they have a few general ed classes they have to take after that. English class, I think one of them is a psychology class, a couple of things like that. And we have many students that do that, and we really encourage them to complete that Associate of Applied Science degree because it is free tuition for them. Their tuition to us does not pay for their tuition and their credits at the school. That is paid through our apprenticeship trust. So, yeah, we really promote that a lot for our students. So there's a common misconception that students who are in apprenticeship programs are not college students. And that is a bold-faced lie for the most part. Every one of our apprentices are a college student getting college credit towards a college degree. So the notion that these trade programs are of lesser value than a college degree, I have a lot of college degrees. And I can tell you that the math and the science and all that type of stuff that they do in these classes are a much higher level than I was ever doing in my postgraduate work. So it is, it's really, really impressive to see the types of different high voltage things that they have to work on and do these different assignments. So the notion that the apprenticeship programs is not equal to college is not true. and I can't not stress that enough. Every one of our students are a college student working towards a college degree. And so that's really kind of a myth that I hit pretty hard. And so this is our lab. We have formed this lab, over a couple of decades. Actually, it was at Chemeketa, and we funded it at Chemeketa, so we moved it over to our building. And so the interesting thing is we've been in our building for 4 years, and we've outgrown it. So we're kind of looking to see what the future looks like with the lab in our building here. And we can go to that next slide, and I'll talk about the amazing career. I shared a little bit about my son's story. My father was an electrician for a county in Washington State for 36 years. His career funded three of us kids to go to college. And I just can't stress enough how amazing the electrical career is and how versatile it is through company ownership, through project management, through career progression. In our faculty, we have quite a diverse group. Deidre, she owned her own company for 40 years and teaches second year for us. We have one of our first year instructors. Will be his 26th year teaching for us. He's a supervising electrician for Clackamas County. Many company owners, they're all alumni of our program. And so it's really, really exciting to see the different advancements that the industry can have. And when we share that story with some of the high school students that we present to, they really kind of perk up a little bit. Wow, really? And we hear often, well, my parents are making me go to college. And then I talk about, well, this is college. So anyway, so all those different types of things. We have one fourth year who is really already interested in some of our leadership courses through the IEC of Oregon in project management. So he has already taken some project management courses and really looking forward to that career. Okay, Amber, we can go to the next slide. So we formed 3 years ago the Electrical New Worker Training Program, and it really is an outstanding program. We've put about 80 high school kids, I call them kids, sorry, 80 high school students through that program, and it can be 16 and above can take this class. If they're under the age of 18, we do have their parents sign us specific waivers to do that. But once we ran this class one time in the summer, then many different local area high schools started contacting us. We want this class, we want this class. And so the class talks really about the orientation and introduction to electrical career, tool safety, hand tools, identification and usage, material ID, boxes, and safety. Of course, we hit safety very, very hard. Devices and identification, safety again, power tool identification, wire prep, measure tools, intro to conduit bending. It's really designed to prepare somebody to work to become an apprentice in the electrical industry, regardless if it is inside electrical, residential electrical, or limited energy. And so it's been a little difficult to run this program because it is so hands-on. So we really haven't done it at all during this last year with our COVID world. But we are really looking forward to ramping this program back up. High schools have started calling us again, and it's really fun. We've had one I forget what high school he is from. It's actually from North. He's taken it 3 times because he loves it so much. In fact, he was a junior in high school. In fact, he liked it so much, he recruited some of his friends to come down and take it. And it's really an outstanding class. And we love to watch the high school students interact, excuse me, working towards an industry that they're really, really engaged in. And so we always look forward. It's really fun to have some company owners come in and talk to them, some instructors come in and talk to them, have some fourth-year apprentices come in and talk with them, and kind of the full gamut of people that we work with. So, boy, Amber, I'm not sure if I have a lot more. I didn't, oh, there's the full list right there. Sorry, I don't have the PowerPoint in front of me. And, oh yeah, the tuition for this is $50. It's a 24-hour to 40 hours of training for $50. And obviously that wouldn't make sense, right? We would lose a ton of money because it's a very expensive class to offer. However, all of our training agents donate money towards this class. And so all the expenses are offset by the companies that partner with our program. About 160 or so training agents in the Inside Electrical and about 140 training agents in the Limited Energy program. And those are all individual companies. So that's really about it. I did want to show some pictures of our electrical new worker program. In the top left, you'll see Haley. Haley is a fourth-year apprentice. Haley is the daughter of Ralph, who is our first-year instructor, who is completing his 25th year of instruction with us. And in fact, Haley was born the first year Ralph started teaching with us. It's a really fun story, a family story. And these are some of our instructors and some of our apprentices donating their time to come and work with the high school students. And it's really a great time. And so we love the program. We love it immensely. So the Independent of Electrical Contractors is, as I said, been around for, 43 years now. And we offer senior level development training for our training agents, for journeymen. We offer code classes, of course. We have a leadership development series that I started when I started with IEC 4 years ago. And it's an outstanding program where you bring different people from different industries. For example, one of my speakers is the commanding officer of Fairchild Air Force Base, and several people who are true leaders in different industries. I even bring in one of the Portland Trailblazers to talk with them, right? And so we have a lot of fun with the leadership program. And so IEC offers a tremendous amount to the members that they serve, and it is really a privilege and honor to work in an industry that we all love. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Jeff. It was great to learn more about the IEC training centers. Now we are going to move into a Q&A session. I'm going to stop sharing the slides so that we can see people's faces. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read the questions that we're getting in through the Q&A function. And then if they're directed specifically for one of you, I will state that. Otherwise, if both of you would be able to answer, that'd be great. So our first question is, how do you start when going into trade school? And Jeff, do you want to go first on this one? And then Bridget?
So how do you start? Does that mean, so you graduate from high school or complete your GED, and then you would start the program by filling out the application process, which is listed right on our website. And you can download the application right there. And then you send the application in. You can email it in, you can scan it in, you can bring it to me and I scan it in. Our corporate office is in Tigard. So we scan it up to Tigard, and then they will be in contact with you regarding the process after that. It's really quite simple. The application is 2 pages long. And we can certainly email it out to you. It is found right on our website, ieceoregon.org, under the Apprenticeship tab, and for both programs. That's how you get started, really. Just submitting that paperwork gets the ball rolling.
Thanks. And Bridget, do you want to answer from the IBEW Training Center?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So they can apply directly from our website, nietc.org. They do need to be They don't need to be 18 when they apply, but as long as they're 18 by the time that they join our basic skills class and start working on a construction site, they need to be 18. But probably, like I said earlier, the most important step is to do your research and make sure it's something that you really want to do. Discover what it is that's exciting and interesting about it to you, and that will help propel you through the application process. Some folks can get a little discouraged just by how long the application process takes. It takes at least 3 months for our application process to get to your interview stage. So I think that having that enthusiasm and just keeping that enthusiasm alive is going to be helpful for your students.
Thank you. So next question. And Bridget, why don't you go first on this one? Can you talk about how a student who may not have much experience in the trades or CTE classes would apply to be a materials handler?
Yeah, sure. And do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you that document that I provided a link to in the chat window. So this is that application tips. So you'll see a whole lot of application tips on here, some volunteer places, pre-apprenticeships. But if you go down to this third page, it talks all about material handlers, what they do, how the process works, what their wages will be as they gain hours working as a material handler, how to get started. Everything's done online right now as far as applying for that. So it kind of walks them through how the dispatch system works and makes it as simple as possible for them when they start that process. You do need to be 18, you have to have your driver's license, and you need to know your social security number.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything to add to that explanation?
Yeah, our training agents will contact us telling us they're looking for material handlers and that type of thing. And so we refer people who are looking to enter into the field to those direct contractors. And then they go through the interview process with that particular contractor. That's how they get started. Yeah.
Thank you. And sort of related, so I know we went over this, but if you don't have much background with this field of work, what can we do now to gain some experience? I am a 17-year-old junior in high school. Jeff, do you want to start this one?
That is an outstanding question. I would say start to look for programs like the New Worker program, the New Worker Electrical program that we have started, looking to engage in different things like that. There's undoubtedly apprenticeship programs near where that person is, and they can contact those apprenticeship programs to do some shadowing, to look at the industry, can do some volunteer work themselves. We do some partnering with Habitat for Humanity and others. And there's lots of different ways, but there are also pre-apprenticeship programs. Chemecca Community College is a pre-apprenticeship program. And so there's lots of ways to get some experience in the trade industry. And it's such a great idea to do that because as we've discussed, this is not easy stuff, right? And it's navigating through several years of training and paperwork and submittal of paperwork, and really got to be on your game. And there's not a lot of flexibility for those who aren't on their game. And so but that's a great way to get started. And looking for, there's undoubtedly high schools in their area that have some classes or pre-apprenticeship programs, or like our New Worker program.
Thank you. Bridget, do you have additional information?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say reference, what Jeff was saying, look for some volunteer experience, try to get into some entry-level training, some after-school classes, summer courses, things like that. And again, my tips that you can download from the chat window will give you an idea of different websites you can go to find pretty attackable projects that you could build something, put something together, and document that project process.
Thank you. This question is, how should an applicant approach getting a letter of recommendation for an apprenticeship? Is this letter different than one would be written for a college application? And Bridget, I'll have you kick this one off.
Okay, sure. So our letters of recommendation, essentially what we want to see in those is some kind of indication of work ethic. So showing up on time. Construction is very team oriented. And so if one person's late, it could hold off, you know, a crew of 20 from getting their tasks done for that day, which then in turn affects the trades that need to come in behind them. So it can snowball pretty quickly. So we really rely on people's ability to be punctual, to have good attendance. So we look for those in letters of recommendation, and as well just personality, someone who's teachable, somebody that is going to receive instruction well. That's what should be in a letter of recommendation.
Thanks. And Jeff, anything to add?
Yeah, they can go to the, you know, just like college or high school teachers. We have seen some pastors who have written letters of recommendation because that particular person went on a missions trip. We've seen that. We've seen all different types of letters of recommendation or calls. People have even called on behalf before. So it's really, some of those skills are really difficult to teach. It's really difficult to teach somebody innately to be on time every time, to communicate professionally always. And so that is one of the things that we stress immeasurably, because it is so unbelievably important. And sometimes they are things that we take advantage of or don't often think about. If you show up on time every day, you're going to work with a company that is going to put some extra effort into you versus those that don't show up on time every day. And it's really the attitude to learn and to do better.
Thank you. I think this one is more geared to Jeff, but can FAFSA awards and financial aid be used to pay the tuition for your programs?
Yes, it can. And like I said, we have a significant portion who apply for our apprentices go to school less than part-time. They only, fall quarters, 5 credits, winter quarters, 5 credits, spring quarters, 3 credits. So they do have to apply for the FAFSA, but what they end up getting and qualifying for is a Pell Grant. And a Pell Grant is free money. It is not a loan that they have to pay back. And we have the vast majority of our first years be able to qualify for that. And if not, oftentimes their contractors, well, more often than not, pay their tuition for them. So yes, they do apply with the FAFSA through Chemeketa Community College for Inside Electrical and Clackamas Community College for the Limited Energy Program.
Thank you. All right, I think this one's for both of you. In your experience, what are the greatest barriers that youth encounter once they decide on this career path? And what advice do you have to address those barriers? Bridget, why don't you kick this one off, then we'll go to Jeff.
And unmute myself. So I would say probably the biggest barrier is right out the gate, just getting through that gate, you know, so being patient through that application process, making sure that your math skills, you've really battened down those math skills, because it doesn't stop with that aptitude test, that entry test. We utilize math, algebra primarily, and a lot of trigonometry throughout our careers and in the curriculum. So making sure that you are really familiarizing yourself with that and you feel confident with your math skills. Other barriers that I see people face is applying before they really have the soft skills taken care of. So applying before they have reliable transportation, even to be able to make sure that they can show up on time every day, that they're not going to be you know, waiting on TriMet or Uber when Uber starts up again to get to work. So I see those as barriers as well. And, you know, I'm not sure, you know, some people might find it intimidating as well. So joining a construction industry, particularly if you haven't been around construction. And so I really recommend networking with people that work in the industry, getting to know at least a few people that work in the industry so that you get a sense of what it's going to be like out there on the job site when you get started. I hope that I addressed that question accurately. If I didn't, feel free to clarify more in the Q&A.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest barriers is the myth of the industry, and oftentimes external pressures that they get for going to college instead of going into the trades. I think that is significant even after they start and get into the apprenticeship program. They fought hard, worked hard to get in. They're still oftentimes getting external pressure to stop and go to college, and so a lot of the the things that they have to work for are, external myth issues that perhaps happen from home, and what the industry is actually really like. There is definitely some intimidation. There may be, working with a journeyman that has been in the industry 20 years, right? So there's a lot of experience there, and so there's a lot of misconception about what it takes to be an electrician. And I tell people that we talk about math a lot, and the math that we learn in our program is different than the algebra of how it's taught in high school. This is applied algebra, applied trigonometry, where they're working with it in the labs right there in front of them, and so they're oftentimes able to retain that information much better. So this notion, there is a myth that I'm not very good at math, and I talk about, if you got a C in algebra, you're going to do better here, and here's why. Then we go through some hands-on stuff where they apply, where they're doing the formulas and doing that right there in front of them, and so one of the difficulties, they are oftentimes intimidated by the math also, until they get in and really start to learn, wow, I can really do this.
Another question we have, do you offer apprentice panels or events for students to introduce them to apprenticeship opportunities? Go ahead, Jeff. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we do different types of activities. Oftentimes we'll go into schools and talk about the apprenticeship program. We'll often host different events throughout the year. National Apprenticeship Week is a big one, right? Where 200-300 students come here throughout that week to learn about the industry. We have gentlemen may talk with them. We have apprentices talk with them, company owners talk with them. Yeah, really to teach them about the industry. So there are several times throughout the year where people have the ability to learn about the industry, to learn about the process. The great thing is that in the last 4 years, I have seen a significant increase in high school involvement in working with the trades. And so I remember as an administrator, that wasn't always the case, right? And so it's outstanding to see that there's greater involvement. So I think that there's always opportunity for to go visit a high school, to go visit a middle school, and also to host different activities also.
Thanks. Bridget, do you have other?
Yeah, so the union building trades coordinators, so not just electrical, sheet metal, carpentry, plumbing, we meet every month, and we hold quarterly informational sessions that anybody can attend, and they can hear about the different apprenticeship programs that are available. So I put a link to that calendar in the chat window. I think the next one is coming up in June or July. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. It's next week, or no, it's this Friday. So it's on Zoom, so students can log in if they have the ability to do that and learn about our programs. And beyond that, we have a website that I can also put in the link window that has an event calendar, and anytime we have some kind of an apprenticeship event coming up, we'll post it on that event calendar.
Thank you. Another question, do you have sample math tests and or refresher materials for students so they know what they should focus on?
Mm.
Bridget, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I'm gonna, again, I'll put in the chat window a link to the Electrical Training Alliance, which is our national training program. They have a sample aptitude test. And then the other thing I recommend is Khan Academy. If you're familiar with Khan Academy, it's free online classes. And their algebra class is great. That's what I refer most people to do, is take that algebra class. However, I will say, it used to be the algebra people struggled with, and nowadays it seems to be more and more that people struggle with the reading comprehension. So doubling down on your reading and making sure that you are doing some practice reading comp exercises will also help with that application aptitude test.
Thanks. Jeff, do you have additional thoughts on math practice?
Yeah, sometimes we will host like a pre-math class to get people to brush up. We talked about some of that in our new worker program, brush up on some of that math, and it really does help. And so everybody learns math a little differently when you're doing it with your hands, right? When you're actually doing the work in front of you. And so it is, so that's kind of how we handle that. Since I've been here, we haven't declined somebody because of math, if that makes sense. Being able to speak English has been a difficult thing at times. And so we, communicating like that. And so anyway, so we tend to host that type of stuff.
Great, thank you. We're going to take one more question and then let folks get outside to enjoy the remainder of the sunshine today before the rain comes back. So our final question is, I've heard that women and people of color can face discrimination or cultural challenges in the skilled trades. Can you speak to whether or not that is getting better? And Jeff, do you want to go first with this one?
Sure. Yes, it's getting better. I can absolutely say it's getting better. I can say that our training agents receive specific training, required training that they have to attend, that talks about discrimination in the workplace. And so it simply isn't tolerated, and it's nipped in the bud right away. And so one of the biggest issues that we see, Amber, that I see, they will come in and tell me about it, but they won't tell the company they're working for about it for fear of retribution. And so that's one of the things we really have to work on, that we need to be free of that type of abuse, and you need to be able to tell your company that type of abuse is occurring. We don't want people to be, I'm just going to tough it out, type of thing. We need to expose it, and I do believe it's getting better. I rarely hear about. We rarely have an apprentice make a complaint about it, and so, but we really hope to have training agents that through the required training that they have to do to qualify for the sponsorship program, really to nip that stuff from the bud right away. And so the people that I know of that have females and minorities, they do an extra hard job of checking in with them consistently, making sure that those types of activities are not happening.
Thank you. Bridget?
Yeah, I would say, short answer is yes, it is still an issue in our industry. It's an issue in a lot of industries, but it's something that we're tackling head on. There's been a huge movement over the past few years within the union construction industry to implement positive job site culture training at the apprenticeship level. So we have, from the past 20 plus years, trained all of our apprentices in positive job site culture training, effective bystander intervention training. So what do you do when you see something inappropriate happening on a job site? Because we believe that providing them with the tools to be able to react in a meaningful way that they're equipped to act in, depending on their personality or their status on the ladder at work. We like to give them those tools to be able to effectively handle those situations. And then a huge movement to bring that training onto the job sites. We've implemented programs like the Green Dot program, which they use on military bases and college campuses to reduce the instances of bullying and harassment on those campuses. Has been proven to be really effective. So we're implementing programs like that on our job sites and making it, instead of just a one-time training, making it pervasive throughout the culture, like we do with safety training. So I'm sure Jeff remembers back in, the day when safety wasn't, when I started in this industry over 20 years ago, it was kind of seen as macho and cool to not work safely. And now you see safety messages everywhere on a job site, and that's the way that we're heading with bullying and harassment on job sites as well. So as far as diversity of our apprenticeship programs go, we are well above the national average, unfortunately, for women in apprenticeship, and this is boots on the ground. A lot of places will count their office staff, is about 3%, and we're at 8 or 9% in Oregon. And within our own program, we have almost 15% female enrollment in our apprenticeship. And then as far as BIPOC folk, we have about 25% enrolled in our apprenticeship programs. So we're doing a lot of outreach. We've implemented ambassador program so that we can get folks that look like communities that we're trying to reach to go out and do the outreach and have effective conversations, meaningful conversations with people from those communities. That was a really great question. I appreciate that, as it's something that means a lot to me, particularly working in the industry.
Thank you so much for your thoughtful answers to that question. Also wanted to thank the audience for coming and spending time viewing this presentation today. Please share feedback with us by participating in the polling, and also a recording of today's event will be available for later viewing, and we should have that link posted to the All Hands Raised website soon. And we will be back with part 3 of this series later in the spring. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.